Hi, my name is Mike Shilley. Does your Acura Integra have a starting problem every once in a while when it's hot outside and maybe the car is parked at an incline? Today I'm going to show you how to fix that. This is my 91 Acura Integra. License plate is Pearlman, and that's not some kind of last name but reference to a programming language. Anyway, enough geek talk. Does your Acura sound like this if it's hot outside? Then you have exactly the same problem. So why is this happening? Welcome to Pearlmeister Labs, the home of many fine inventions and easy explanations to complex technical problems. Why isn't the car starting when it's hot outside, but it starts fine when it's cold? I've asked our staff at Pearlmeister Labs to come up with an explanation that everybody can understand. Here's what our researchers came up with. During regular engine operation, you have oil pressure, which a sensor reports to the fuel pump, which then pumps fuel into the engine. In case of an accident, however, the engine loses oil pressure. A sensor reports this to the fuel pump, which turns itself off and stops pumping fuel into the engine. Which, if you think about it, is a good idea if you have ruptured gasoline lines and a possibly hazardous situation. But of course, this is a problem if you want to start the car, at which point you have no oil pressure and therefore no fuel gets pumped into the engine, which then of course won't start. This is why when you turn on the ignition, for a couple of seconds the so-called fuel pump relay will turn on the fuel pump. Fuel will be pumped into the engine will start, and as soon as it has enough oil pressure, it goes into regular operation where you have oil pressure, the fuel pump is on because the sensor detects the oil pressure, and the fuel keeps flowing until you turn the engine off or you lose oil pressure due to an extraordinary operation. It should be clear by now that it's important that your fuel pump relay operates correctly. But even if it isn't, and if it's a cold day, the oil is thick, you might have enough oil pressure so that the fuel pump will start pumping fuel into the engine nevertheless. However, if it's a hot day, and maybe if your car stands on a hill, you might have not enough oil pressure and your car won't start, and you have to often try for an hour or more. Now, the problem with the fuel pump relay of the 90 series of the Acura Integras is that it deteriorated over time and its internal soldering points lost the contact. So chances are, if you have a 90 series Acura Integra, that your relay doesn't work anymore. And you can only tell if it's a hot day, because on cold days it starts just fine. So if you have a defective fuel pump relay, what can you do? You could certainly turn in your car to a mechanic, but let me tell you, we at Pearlmeister Labs fix stuff ourselves. Let's break out the soldering iron. In order to get the plastic off, we need to remove a couple of screws. One is here, one is on the other side. In order to get to the third screw, we need to remove a small change drawer. And get the screw right there. Let's take a closer look. There's a black relay in front, and the relay we're looking for, the fuel pump or main relay, is behind it. And we have to loosen this screw. It's a 10mm screw in order to get both of them off. This is the front relay, and this is the relay that we need to replace, the fuel pump relay. To open the relay, use a screwdriver and pry open the space here at the latch. So if you put the screwdriver in there like this, pull the relay out a little bit, then turn it around, and do the same thing on the other side. If you do that, the relay will just snap out, and you can examine the inside and fix the soldering points. What you need next is a soldering iron and a desoldering pump. It works like this. You put the soldering iron on the soldering point, let it melt, and then charge the pump, and then press the button in order to get the solder off. We need to get the old solder off before we can get the new one. So let's start with this one, for example. I've charged the soldering pump. Now I'm putting the soldering iron onto the soldering point. Let it melt, and then get the solder off like this. That worked pretty good. Melt it, plump it. And now we're gonna fix the soldering points one by one with nice solder. I'm using the big soldering iron for the bigger soldering points. But it's really important to not apply more heat than the relay can take. All there is left to do now is put the relay back in the box. Make sure that this latch here points to the front, which is where this imprint is. Snap it in. Done. Now let's put the relay back into the car and see what happens. And it goes back here until it clicks in like this. This is fully functional right now, and we can give it a test. Let's see if the car starts now. This worked just perfectly. Now let's put the knee guard back in place. There's 2 screws. Let's use the wrench to make sure it is really solid. Okay, that was it. To put plastic back in place, there's these little springs that jump off every now and then, but you can easily put them back on. Put it there, and slam it in, and put the small change drawer back in place. There you go. And finally, put those screws in, which hold the plastic in place. And we're done. And there you have it. Yet another problem fixed. Even if it looks like magic, it's just another routine day at Perlmeister Labs for us. See ya.